Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. It's really late at night. I'm actually commentating this at 4 in the morning. Why? Because I just got some really kind of awesome jet footage. This is one of the only times that I've had a chance to really get into a jet in Battlefield 3. I've just kind of got the game working. I've had an issue with Punkbuster. I still have an issue with Punkbuster. I'm now only playing on servers that don't have Punkbuster. Why people still use Punkbuster, I will never know. Don't tell me, oh, it's a very effective anti-cheating program. No, it isn't. For God's sake, there's already hackers all over the Battlefield servers. It's pretty appalling. So, I got into a jet. This is the first time that I've actually flown in one. So, it's a little difficult to get to grips with, and of course you don't have any upgrades to start with either, so you're kind of useless, as you will find out. However, in this run I'm able to get some value out of the jet, certainly, as well as learn a few things about how the jet handles, and a little bit about how to effectively dogfight against helicopters and other jets, and actually handle the jet, and unlock a couple of upgrades into the bargain. So this is the F-18 Super Hornet, which you are able to take off from that carrier over there. And you'll notice that I'm playing this in first person in the cockpit view. I would have liked to have actually switched to third person, but I don't know what the key is. I'll check that out at some point. I wasn't really able to check that while flying the frickin' jet. It does tend to distract you somewhat from not crashing into the ground. You're also going to notice that my plane is going to lurch at random when I reach a certain height. Watch this. I think it happens here. There you go. That is the flight ceiling that I just hit. The flight ceiling on this map is really low. I believe Caspian Border has a higher flight ceiling simply due to the height of the big tower in the middle. But if you hit the flight ceiling like this, you will very slowly fall back to Earth. And if you do this, you are extremely vulnerable to being shot to pieces by another jet, or locked onto with a Stinger missile and killed that way. You notice I have a warning on me right here. I believe there's actually a jet behind me. I didn't really realize what warning meant. I didn't hear a lock-on or anything like that. So I think warning, if I recall correctly, is when an enemy jet is behind you and trying to shoot you with guns. Guns is the only thing that you get on the jets before you get any levels up with them. You can unlock various weapons. I unlock two things while I'm in this jet. I unlock the infrared flares, and I also unlock some air-to-air missiles. There are also air-to-ground and some laser-guided bombs as well, which seems like they could make the jet significantly more useful. Yeah, there's the chase camera. I actually missed it right there because I was quickly trying to get back into the game before I crashed into the ocean. But yes, there is a chase camera, which I have a feeling switching between that and the cockpit view is very useful. What you can do, though, is you can look around the cockpit to get a little bit more awareness by holding down the right mouse button, and that you'll see is crucial a little bit later on in order to take down some of my opponents. There we are, it's our first kill in the jet right there. Someone making the mistake of flying in a straight line. You can very easily tear an enemy jet to pieces if you're able to get a good salvo of guns into them. So your primary role as a jet is quite narrow. Basically, you're designed to kill other jets and helicopters. Doing ground strafing attacks with the cannon is usually quite ineffective because you're generally traveling at too fast a speed to actually kill anything with it. You also risk hitting the ground, and you become very vulnerable to anti-air fire from either mobile AA or the static AA, and then there's even the possibility you get hit by a Stinger if you're flying too slowly, which is not a very good thing to do, is it? No. That will be very bad. Shooting down helicopters, though, is definitely a useful thing, because attack helicopters are a very big threat to your tanks. Transport helicopters can often contain several of the enemy, and you can wipe several tickets off of them if you happen to catch them out. Or, alternatively, you can, of course, stop them from capturing points. Transport helicopters with an organized squad, a very effective way of capping points very quickly. And obviously a very effective firing platform as well, because you've got usually double miniguns on the Blackhawks and things like that. Those can rip up ground targets very easily if you have a competent pilot and gunners who are working as a team. You see, my first few minutes of the jet has really been sort of flying around trying to see, well, can I spot anything in the jet? Not really. I've not found a way to effectively spot anything for my teammates using the jet. I think it just maybe it moves too fast to do that. Also attempting to strafe ground targets, which doesn't seem to really do anything. I would imagine you'd be able to get suppression bonuses if you were able to pepper an area where there were quite a few enemies, but this wasn't a full server. It was about 35, 40 people on it, so it's a Conquest Large designed for 64. All right, so we saw a helicopter there, so I need to bank around and try and get a good attack run on it to bring it down. That first involves actually locating it. There it is. It's quite difficult to do unless someone has actively marked it. I believe there is a radar system that you can get for the jet, which makes that significantly easier. I'll hit the flight ceiling again there without too much warning. One of the things you have to learn with the jet is that you can go significantly out of bounds of the level and not die. Yeah, which is quite a nice technique to learn. And that gives you a lot of time to angle up your attack run. So don't worry about going out of bounds. It doesn't actually matter all that much. The minimap in this game is awful, so there's not really a particularly good indication of what is out of bounds and what is not. But just keep running until it says, oh god, you're out of bounds, come back to the battlefield, and then just decelerate somewhat and make a tight turn and go back in. There's no way you're going to die, really. You see I'm flying way out of bounds here. It doesn't matter. I'm very, very easily able to turn around and get back into that. I say this gives you the opportunity to look for targets, whether they be jets or whether or not they be helicopters, something along those lines, for instance. And that vehicle disable earned me infrared flares. You only need, I believe, 2 vehicle disables or destructions in order to get the first unlock. It's really quite easy, and the game does understand that the chances are you're not going to have an awful lot of time in a jet, because of course they're very, very desirable. As to why, well, that's the curious thing, isn't it? What is the role of a jet actually substantial enough to justify someone spending a lot of time in them? I mean, in a jet, you're not going to earn a lot of score, as you'll see here. I'm able to keep this jet for the majority of the game, and I don't really get an awful lot of score. Anyway, before we talk about that, let's talk about that little dogfighting technique right there. So, using the right mouse button, you get a free look, so you can look around your cockpit, look for where the enemy is, and what you want to try and do is to pull back on the throttle hard to try and have him go past you. And then, of course, you can engage him in a dogfight. Bear in mind that at full speed, using an afterburner, you turn rather slowly. But full speed is often a good way of getting away from missiles and then sort of getting behind cover. For instance, the carrier over there is a good place to fly if someone's trying to lock a missile on you. Put a carrier between you and a missile and things tend to get a little bit better. You can break the lock there. Right, now I don't know where that flanker is at the moment, but have another run and see what we can find over here. And you can, of course, try and tempt the enemy into engaging you by running in a straight line and then trying to evade and get back on his tail. Dogfighting is quite exciting, but it does kind of feel a little pointless. The role of the jet, as I said, is a very narrow one until you get a lot of upgrades for it. I would imagine that once you get laser-guided bombs and air-to-ground missiles, that you can be an effective tank killer, and of course you can kill infantry and things like that. The problem is that you have to spend a lot of time in a jet in order to unlock those things. And whether or not you can get a jet, well, that's a different matter entirely, isn't it? It's not necessarily something that you can rely on getting. Before that, especially when you've been in a jet for the first time, you're going to be struggling a little bit to handle it because it is quite tricky. I think it's easier on PC than it is on consoles, but it is quite tricky to fly a jet. And you will also be lacking any form of utility or defense. You won't have infrared flares, so missiles can easily kill you. You won't have stealth, so it's very, very easy for people to spot you. You will not have air-to-air missiles, so you're dogfighting with guns. And that's tricky stuff. And, of course, you'll be hitting the flight ceiling over and over again. And I don't know what it is with the flight ceiling on this map. It is really low. Incredibly so. You are so close to the ground all the time. All right, okay. The aircraft has taken some damage, unfortunately. I would love to land and fix it, but it's not really worth the risk at the moment. You can see the bullets flying past my screen at the moment. I'm trying to locate the flanker, find out where he is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fly really, really close to the ground here. And I'm then going to decelerate, as you can see there, and make a tight turn and try and find out where he's gone, as well as to evade the fire. I notice there's an attack helicopter there. That's a potential target for my next run. So let's accelerate out to sea. Then I can make a turn, a nice tight turn right here, and see if I can engage his attack helicopter, hopefully while avoiding the guns of the flanker in the process. Did we see the attack helicopter? No, we do not. Because note, while the lighting effects in this game are absolutely goddamn gorgeous, they tend to get in the way of seeing anything useful. So that's a little bit of a bind I tend to find. There are some maps where it's absolutely ridiculous, the amount of lighting effects that just tend to blind you all the time. It takes a lot of getting used to. So we do a little bit of strafing run there. We're not able to get anything useful, so let's try and turn around once again. I'm trying to just skirt the edge of the level here so we can get a good attack run. I felt I could have maybe swung out a little bit further there. There's not even any point in doing what I'm doing there. I've lost sight of the attack helicopter, I've lost sight of the flanker, so I don't know what exactly I'm engaging. Aha, there is the flanker. And he is making the mistake of going in a straight line, so he is very, very dead. Managed to catch him out and annihilate him, so that's my second aircraft kill, in addition to a helicopter kill that I got. So I think my time with the jet has been fairly worthwhile. I've killed pretty much everything that's in the air, aside from that attack helicopter that I kept losing sight of. I'd love to know where that went. I think if I get the air-to-air radar upgrade or whatever there is, I would definitely like that, because that will give me a little bit of an advantage when I'm hunting helicopters. It's been a while since we've had a jet in any of the Battlefield games. Of course, it wasn't in Battlefield Bad Company. And they just had helicopters in that game and UAVs as well. And they felt that helicopters were the most useful things. And I kind of tend to agree. I think jets are a little bit out of place until you get a hold of the bombs and stuff like that. In Battlefield 2, they sort of made sense because you had the fighter bombers that had the bombs straight away. And you just had a guy controlling those, and I think you could get 2 people, if I recall correctly. It's been a long time since I played Battlefield 2. You could get a couple of people in one of those, and you could actually bomb areas, and you were fairly effective. You were a pretty dangerous threat. And when you fly a plane in this game, you have no utility really of any description aside from shooting down other aircraft until you're able to unlock that stuff. And I didn't unlock laser-guided bombs, and I don't even have air-to-ground missiles of any sort, so I don't really know how useful I honestly am here. That kind of bothers me, I suppose. I would like to be more useful, and I'm not earning a lot of score. I don't feel like I'm really contributing to the team, so as regards to adding jets to the game, while it's obviously nice, and you can see how goddamn beautiful it is flying these things. Oh, there's something I want to point out. By the way, look at the size of that chat box. Dice, what are you thinking? Get it sorted. Holy Christ. Oh. There's some resolutions where it's almost touching the crosshair in the middle of the screen. What an incredibly stupid decision in terms of the UI. Get it fixed. No, there isn't an option as far as I can tell to do anything with it. But back to the point, I don't feel all that useful flying a plane. Don't get me wrong, it's pretty damn awesome. Ooh, another flanker. Perhaps I could take him out. Or indeed, we could just kill your Apache. Splat. There we go. That's 2 helicopters and 2 planes killed. Very, very nice. That 4 kills will unlock you Heat Seekers, as you can see. Heat Seekers make you absurdly effective, as you might imagine. Very, very effective at taking out both planes and helicopters. Really makes you much, much more useful for obvious reasons. And I think once you get your air-to-grounds and your laser-guided, things start to heat up a little bit. And of course, the problem is that you have people jumping in the plane when they have absolutely no gadgets of any description and be absolutely useless with it. And that I suppose, is going to be a problem with the Battlefield series regardless. There's no way to lock a vehicle. It's just first come, first served. Idiot spawns in plane, idiot crashes plane into the sea, or idiot crashes plane into another plane, which I've seen happen because there are some maps where 2 planes spawn at once, and it's very, very easy just for someone to pick the wrong one, and yeah, it's not so great. And then you think, well, you know what, I could be really useful here because I've unlocked the laser-guided bombs, and then the other guy hasn't. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Outside of an organized team environment with a designated pilot, which sounds like a very, very good idea, and I'd recommend if you set up a platoon and you get your own server and you start to practice as a clan, then that's something that you want to be doing. Get yourself a designated pilot who's got the unlocks, who can switch their role when necessary, get the air-to-air missiles if there's a lot of helicopter threat, get the laser-guided bombs if he needs to deal with concentrations of enemy infantry on the ground. Of course, get yourself the air-to-ground missiles if you want to take tanks out and stuff like that. But you're not going to find that in PUBG servers. It's simply not going to happen. So from that, I mean, that's all I've really learned in this session from flying the jet. Because the flight ceiling on this map is so low, it's really, really difficult to say anything about going really high and being able to dive down on people. That's a recommendation that some people have made on maps like Caspian Border. You get as high as you can out of missile range, and then you try and dive on helicopters, or indeed other planes. Speaking of other planes, we've got one right over there. Unfortunately, those guys really don't like me anymore. They're locking onto me. Ooh, I've taken so much damage. Did I kill the flanker? I want that flanker. I want him for breakfast. A lot of damage done there, but now I'm on fire. And I think this might be the time, yes, it is indeed the time when my plane is screwed. I would love to land this and actually repair it, but yeah, things are going horribly wrong. You start to lose control of your aircraft at this point. You're unable to properly slow it down. I try and level it out and then pull it down and maybe land it on the road, but I lose control of the rudder and I can't slow down. My plane is in pieces. And boom. There you go, folks. A little bit of flying in Battlefield 3. Looking forward to unlocking the really good stuff so that I can actually be useful. Aside from that, that was fun. I enjoyed that. That was pretty good. But I did feel a little useless, I've got to say. My name is TotalBiscuit. A little bit of flying right there in Battlefield 3. I'll see you next time.